So this year I've set myself a really hefty goal in terms of growing my audience across YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, as many social media channels as possible to 100,000 followers now. I'm at about 9,000 followers on LinkedIn, 90 odd on YouTube and 100 odd on TikTok. So I've got a fair bit of work left to do. Now, in the past, setting a big goal like this, I would be very much focusing on the end goal. So the 100,000 followers, the £100,000 turnover target that I've got, for instance, on my other goal. That's all my mind would be focused on. Why am I not there yet? How long is it going to take to get there? You know, and just really focusing just on that very much, and specifically focusing on that end result. But what I'm doing this year instead is I'm focusing far more on the process to actually get there. So the actual journey from where I am now here in January right through to December to the end of the year, and focusing on the day-to-day things that I need to be doing every single day in order to actually hit that goal. Now, what that's allowed me to do now is kind of take a little bit of the pressure off in terms of 100,000 followers, £100,000 turnover, whatever it might be, is a massive goal. And I definitely do think that if you're setting goals, there's no point in setting goals that are small. You've always got to be pushing yourself and obviously pushing to higher levels. If you get there, fantastic. If you get anywhere close to that, that's going to be better than obviously setting a smaller goal. So definitely, obviously, need to have those big goals. But when you focus so much on that end result, all it does, and it has done for me, is just put a substantial amount of pressure on my shoulders. And 9 times out of 10, what I end up finding is I end up crumbling far before the finish line and not achieving the goal. So consistency and obviously focusing on the actual process, the day-to-day, it's made a shift in me, to be fair, that has been really noticeable, and I'm not feeling the pressure that I would generally be feeling at this point in time, and it's been really good. So the key example of where they're taking the pressures off has been really beneficial has been over the last 11 days with me posting these videos on YouTube consistently. Now, YouTube is something I've tried a few times before. Always been a case of posting a couple of videos, not seeing any results that I was expecting, and then just sacking it off and not continuing on with it. Whereas this time the big shift is because I've taken the pressure off the actual end result and focusing more on just actually getting the reps in and getting the videos out, and not focusing so much on the how many views I'm getting or how many subscribers I'm getting or how many comments and that sort of stuff. It's just lifted that pressure, and it's actually making it enjoyable to actually do these videos now. In the past, what I've tended to do is I've been focusing very much on trying to make the videos perfect and putting a lot of attention and a lot of pressure on making the video perfect, overthinking the videos, the concepts, the filming, the editing, all of that kind of stuff. And that pressure just builds up so much to a point where I just sack it off, and that's been the case up until now. So 11 videos in 11 days. I have come down to the beach every single day, rain or shine. Weather today, although it's blue skies at minute, it's been stormy all morning, pissing down with rain, really bad winds. But I've still come down to the beach today to record the video because I'm enjoying the process. I'm not focusing too much on how many views each video's got. I'm not focusing on my subscriber count going up. I'm just very much focusing on getting the reps in and actually enjoying the journey. A good analogy of this is, you know, and it's kind of flipping it on its head, is I got on a plane to come to Fuerteventura 14 days ago or whatever it was, and didn't particularly enjoy the journey. All I was bothered about was the destination, which is the same as this goal that I've set. The destination is the 100,000 followers or the £100,000 turnover, and completely and utterly forgetting to actually enjoy the process. And that's what it's got to be all about, I guess. If you can learn to enjoy the process rather than focusing so much and putting so much emphasis and pressure on the end result happening, things will just naturally fall into place anyway. And that is definitely what I am focusing on this year when it comes to achieving my goals. Now I think this same thing applies to any business goal for all of us small business owners. Really is just trying to just learn to accept that the journey's got to happen. You don't just get things overnight. You know, whatever big goals you set, they don't just happen overnight. They do involve a process. They do involve a certain amount of steps every day to get to the end result. Just take the pressure off. You know, it just feels a lot better. So if you've put a goal in place for your marketing, or you've put a goal in place for your sales, or for any aspect of your life or your business, just flip it on its head a little bit and just focus on actually loving the journey, learning new skills, getting into the thick of it, enjoying the failures and actually learning from those things. And again, I think that's something that I'm going to be focusing on a lot more this year as well, is just allowing the failures to happen. And although I've got a good direction now for where I want to go with these big goals, obviously I've got an audience goal, I've got a substantial turnover goal for the business, far and above what I've done before. Just allowing that process to happen and setting the direction, trusting in the process, and obviously being open-minded, which I'm going to be this year, to understanding and accepting that there is going to be failures. Things are not always going to go the right direction that you want it to do, but as long as you've got that direction set in place and you're making the steps every day to get there, and being open-minded to the fact that, yeah, if things aren't actually moving towards that goal, so let's say, for instance, I get another couple of months down the line on these goals and I'm nowhere near them, then obviously it's being open-minded to changing the journey a little bit, changing the daily steps that I'm taking, but still just focusing on the actual day-to-day and the process of actually making things happen. I'm confident that if I continue to do that, I'm definitely much in the belief of, if you're consistently doing the right actions, the same way that, say, for instance, if you were trying to lose weight, that's a good analogy that I always kind of look back to. If you want to lose weight, if you want to build muscle in the gym, there's no point going and standing outside the gym and thinking it's just going to happen. You've got to obviously go in there, you've got to lift the weights, you've got to run on the treadmill, you've got to go on the bike, you've got to go swimming, you've got to go do whatever you've got to do. But if you keep doing those things consistently every single day, eventually the end result that you're looking for will come, and there's no point going and hating every second of it. Otherwise you're not going to stick to it, which is kind of what I've done in the past. So yeah, that's my sort of thoughts on taking the pressure off, and that's what I'm going to be doing this year going forward. So if you haven't done so already, do me a favour and subscribe to the channel, and drop me a comment below, hit the like button, and I'll see you on the next video.